ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් PO TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
In your headlines tonight, SAARC gather. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa proposes a SAARC regional task force to meet the coronavirus head-on.
I wish to recommend a SAARC ministerial level group be established, share best practices and coordinate combating coronavirus.
No escape. Health authorities assure public that measures in place to identify pre-quarantine arrivals. Stay at home. Cardinal tells his flock to pray at home this Lent as church services suspended.
We have decided that we will ask the Catholic to stay at home and not to come for masses.
Unity in diversity. President's Council Ali SABRY urges the Muslim community to give up exclusivity and divisiveness.
We have been divisive, exclusive, as a result of which out of the limelight, and natural progression is extremism.
All this and much more coming up tonight on First at 9, this Sunday, the 15th of March 2020.
හැටනමයයි අනුහත්තට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening. In news just in, health authorities have just announced 7 new cases of confirmed coronavirus infections in Sri Lanka. The 7 patients are all males who had arrived from Italy and were under quarantine at the Kathankudi facility and are currently under treatment at the Polonnaruwa General Hospital. This brings the country's total to 18 so far. Meanwhile, as declared by the government, tomorrow is a public, bank and mercantile holiday. However, all essential and emergency services are on standby, with flights from the United Kingdom, Norway and Belgium suspended for 2 weeks. All these details will be coming up in our update on the developing pandemic situation across the world. However, we first go to the emergency video conference between SAARC heads of state. As the world grapples to contain the coronavirus pandemic, the heads of state of the SAARC region came together for an emergency discussion on a regional approach to combat the deadly virus. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa urged leaders of the SAARC nations to formulate a mechanism to assist vulnerable economies in the SAARC region affected by the coronavirus pandemic and urged the immediate establishment of a ministerial level group to share treatment expertise and coordinate efforts to combat its spread. These recommendations were made during the video conferencing between SAARC heads of state to discuss a roadmap and common strategy to fight the virus in the region.
We have banned tourists and other people entering Sri Lanka, especially from EU countries and also South Korea, Iran. We have a large number of Sri Lankans working especially in Italy and South Korea. We cannot stop our Sri Lankans coming back to their home country. At present, we have 11 cases being treated in the hospital. There have been no deaths reported so far. We have a specialized infectious diseases hospital with intensive care facilities. This hospital has successfully treated even the first case reported. The area police and the public health inspectors are closely monitoring the progress of the suspected patients. Public health inspectors undertake daily visits to check on these persons who are self-quarantined. We have also established a national task force comprising all major stakeholders with the power an authority to take crucial decisions. A 24/7 office with hotlines has been established. As you know, probably that our parliament has been dissolved on 2nd March and the general elections will be held on 25th April. Therefore, we had to take precautions to discourage large meetings, large gatherings. So our economy has taken a severe blow, particularly in tourism. Our tourist industry was just recovering after last year's April 21st terrorist attack. Therefore, I strongly recommend the SAARC leaders to formulate a mechanism to assist our economies to tide over this very difficult period. I also wish to recommend that a SAARC ministerial level group be established to discuss, share best practices and coordinate regional matters on combating coronavirus.
Director of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe reassured the people of proper mechanisms currently being put in place to identify people who arrived in the country before quarantine measures were announced. Meanwhile, the Epidemiology Unit today identified 15 hospitals earmarked for the treatment and quarantine of suspected patients, while the police department warned that anyone defying quarantine measures can be arrested sans an arrest warrant.
As of yesterday, the total number of COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka stood at 10, while 103 patients displaying symptoms are being treated in 14 hospitals across the country. A joint media discussion was held today with the aim of presenting facts regarding the outbreak, where Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe elaborated on the measures taken by medical officers to identify the people who arrived in the country before quarantine measures were put in place.
තාලිය වැනි රටවලින් අපි නිරෝධනය පටන් ගත්ත දවසට පෙර 10 වෙනිදාට පෙර ආපු අය රටේ විවිධ ප්‍රදේශවල ඉන්නවා. ඒ අය හරහා වෛරසය නැවත බෝවීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. 10 වෙනිදාට ඉසෙල්ලා පැමිණි අය අපි පළවෙනිදා ඉඳලා අරගෙන ඒ අය ලයිස්තු ගත කරනවා දැන් මේ අවස්ථාවේ. ඒ අය විශේෂයෙන් ක්වොරන්ටයින් කරනවා. පැහැදිලිව කියන්නේ ඒ අය ගෙදරටම වෙලා ඉන්න.
During the discussion, physician Dr. Anand Vijay Vikrama and Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva spoke at length on virus symptoms and treatment procedures being carried out by medical officers of the Sri Lanka Army at the quarantine centres.
රෝගය වැළඳෙන අයගෙන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 80%කට විතර ඇති වෙන්නේ උණ හිමිරිස්සාව කැස්ස වැනි රෝග තත්ත්වයක් තමයි. 20%කට පමණ නියුමෝනියා තත්ත්වයකට යනවා. ඒතර මෙතනදී වෙන්නේ වෙනහල්ලේ යම්කිසි කොටස් වලට මේ විස බීජ ඇතුළු වීම නිසා ඒ තැන්වල ඔක්සිජන් හුවමාරු වීමේ ඉඩකඩ නැති වෙනවා. 20%නුත් 5%කට පමණ මේ රෝග තත්ත්වය ඊටාම උත්සන්න වෙන තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් බෝවීම සඳහා වැදගත් වෙන්නේ මේ ශ්වසන පද්ධතිය හරහා ඇතුළු වීම සහ පිටවීම. ඉතින් මේ වෛරසයේ මේ පෘෂ්ඨයක් මත කොයිතරම් කාලයක් තියනවද කියන එක ගැන විවිධ මත පවතිනවා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් උෂ්ණත්වය වැඩි පරිසරයේ තත්ත්වයක මේ වෛරසය පවතින්නේ පොඩි වෙලාවක්. මේක වියලි කැස්සකින් පටන් අරගෙන ඊට පස්සේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සෙම කැඩිලා යන කැස්සක් දක්වා වර්ධනය වෙනවා. ඇඟපත වේදනාව, මහන්සි ගතිය වැනි රෝග ලක්ෂණ ඇති වෙනවා. සමහර කෙනෙකුට උගුරේ වේදනාව, තොටු දියර ගැලීම වැනි රෝග ලක්ෂණ ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේ තහවුරු කරන් ඉන්න රෝගීන් 10 දෙනා දිහා බැලුවොත් ඔවුන්ට උණ සහ කැස්ස බොහෝ විට එකම දවසේ තමයි ඇති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
නිරෝධන මධ්‍යස්ථානට එන කට්ටිය ඒ ස්ථානයේදී පරීක්ෂණයකට භාජනය කරනවා. ඒ කට්ටියට අපි ඉන්න වෛද්‍යවරුන් දවසට 3 පාරක් මේ කට්ටියව චෙක් කරනවා. 3 පාරක්. යම් කිසි පුද්ගලයෙක් නිකන් සැක වගේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවනම් ඒ කට්ටිය 4 පාරකට පරීක්ෂණයට භාජනය කරනවා. කන කෑම පැකට් එක ඉවරුණන් පස්සේ සහ ඔවුන් පරිහරණය කරන ටිෂූස් ඒ වගේ හැම දෙයක්ම අපේ වෙන ස්ථානයක් හදලා තිනවා. ඒවා වල දාලා උච්චලා ඒක එතනින්ම ඉවර කරනවා. අර ඉස්සෙල්ලාම ආපු කට්ටිය ආශ්‍රය කර මේ ටුවර් ගයිඩ්ස්ලත් එක්ක ආශ්‍රය කරපු කට්ටිය 51 දෙනෙක් අපි හඳුනගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ 51 දෙනාට අපි උපදෙස් දීලා තිනවා කළ යුතු ආකාරය. එතකොට බුදුමා බුද්ධ්‍යංශ ගැන ඇහුවා. ඔව් බුද්ධ්‍යංශ අපි උතවලා ඒ කට්ටිය හොයාගෙන ඒ කට්ටිය පැහැදිලිව කියලා තිනවා. ඒ කට්ටියට කියවපු උපදෙස් නොකරන අවස්ථාවක් තිබ්බා. අපි දැක්ක එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නකොම ඉන්නවා කියලා ගෙදර වහගෙන අපි චෙක් කරද්දී ඇතුළට ගිහලා චෙක් කරද්දී ගෙදර හිටමු නැති අවස්ථාවකුත් තිබ්බා. අපි නිරෝධන මධ්‍යස්ථාන වලට ආපු කට්ටියව රැකගෙන ඉන්නවා. එතනින් එහාට මේක බෝ වෙනවා නම් බෝ වෙන දින එකම ක්‍රමවේදය අර වගේ පළවෙනිදා නම් වෙනදා ආපු කට්ටිය හෝ වෙනතින් එන කට්ටියක් ඒ කට්ටිය ආරක්ෂා වෙලා තමුන්ගේ පවුලුත් ආරක්ෂා කරගෙන රටට මේක දෙන්නේ නැතුව ඉන්නවා නම් අපි මං හිතන්නේ ඉතාමත් හොඳ සැලසුමක ඉන්නේ. පොලිසිය මෙතුමා කිව්වා පොලිසිය අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියලා දෙන පොලිසියට ගිහිල්ලා මේ කට්ටිය චෙක් කරන්න කියලා. ඒක දෙවනුව චෙක් කරන්න අපි යුද හමුදාව යොදලා තියෙනවා. මේ කට්ටියට නැවත වතාවක් මේ කට්ටිය මේ කරන ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිවල යෙදෙනවද කියලා චෙක් කරන්න යුද හමුදාවත් අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී උත්සාහ තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the epidemiology unit announced 15 hospitals in the country geared for treatment and quarantine of the virus infected. The hospitals named were the Infectious Diseases Hospital in Angola, the Colombo National Hospital, the Kandy National Hospital, the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital, the Soisa Maternity Hospital, the Ragama Karapitiya JAFFNA, Batiklo, Ratnapura and Anuradhapura Teaching Hospitals, and the Kurunegala, Badulla, Gampa and Nigambu General Hospitals. Meanwhile, the police media spokesman announced that the government has decided to ban all public and private events where large crowds of people can gather. It was also revealed that a police officer has been given the power to arrest an individual without a warrant if they negligently act to spread infection of any life-threatening disease or disobeys a quarantine rule. Accordingly, a person arrested for the offences can be granted bail under the provisions of the Bail Act. All flights to Sri Lanka from the United Kingdom, Norway and Belgium have been suspended from tomorrow. The chairman of the Civil Aviation Authority stated that the relevant travel restrictions will be in effect for 2 weeks. All airlines have been instructed not to board any passenger originating from the restricted countries or those that have visited those countries within the last 14 days. Further, any passenger arriving from those countries on March 16th will be directed to quarantine centres, while there will be no quarantine for passengers who arrive in the country up to midnight today. Meanwhile, the JAFFNA International Airport has been ordered closed for 2 weeks with immediate effect by the Civil Aviation Authority. The government has also introduced a hotline 117 for the public to seek or provide information on the novel coronavirus. The Department of Government Information stated that the hotline will be active from 8 p.m. tonight. Meanwhile, the number of infected countries stood at 153 today, as the global death toll surpassed the 5,500 mark, raising the number of infected to 149,593. Iran, the country with the highest number of deaths and infections after Italy, has reported 724 deaths so far, including 113 in the past 24 hours, and totaling 13,938 people infected across the country. South Korea, with its current position as the third country with the highest recorded number of infections, reported 107 new cases and 5 new deaths, adding to its current tally of 72. Malaysia reported 190 new cases of coronavirus, mostly linked to a religious event at a mosque that was attended by more than 10,000 people from several countries. The Health Ministry said in a statement that the new cases bring the total number of infections in the country to 428. India reported that its number of coronavirus infections had risen to 107, an increase of 23 from the day before. Data from India's Federal Health Ministry showed that there were now 31 confirmed coronavirus cases in Maharashtra, where local authorities have closed down schools, colleges and malls in most cities, including in the financial hub of Mumbai. In the meantime, the Vatican said its traditional Easter week celebrations would be held this year without worshippers. The prefecture of the pontifical household said in a statement that because of the current global public health emergency, all liturgical celebrations of Holy Week will take place without the faithful in attendance.
Following the Health Ministry's warning to avoid public gatherings, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, called on the Catholic community to refrain from attending regular Sunday Mass and other religious ceremonies as a measure to overcome any possibility of spreading the coronavirus pandemic. He made this request at a media briefing held at the Cardinal's office official residence last evening.
Even though we gave a press conference in the morning where we did not take that step up to this point, we only advised our people not to engage in mass level gathering, especially with regard to the Lenten season that we are now passing in the shrines and major churches, not to organize major gatherings, but to limit it only to the churches for the usual Sunday and other Saturday pre-evening, pre-Sunday masses. But now, because of the appeal that is being made by the government and especially by the Ministry of Health, we have decided that we will ask the community of the Catholics in the Colombo Archdiocese and in the Chilao Diocese to stay at home and not to come for masses on Sundays and the other days to our churches. Similarly, the next 2 Sundays also up to the end of March, because the government wants to spend these 2 weeks that are important for the period in which people are under observation so that there's no danger of this virus spreading to other people. In the context of what is happening, it's a good attitude on our part as people of religion and faith to think about the others who are affected. We may not be affected ourselves, and also we don't know whether we are affected because it takes about 2 weeks for the symptoms to start showing around. So there may be others, but we should not exclude them from our society, sort of treat them like dirt. That's not good. We should open our hearts to understand that people maybe due to accidental causes have come across the others who had coronavirus and therefore they will fall sick. Therefore we should be considerate towards the people who are down with the virus, who are not in a healthy condition. This is a special moment in which we as a country and all of us citizens of this country, whether we belong to whatever religion or caste or race or any group or language, that we stick together as brothers of one country and we look after the needs of others also. Let us pray to the Lord to help us, help this country to tide over this crisis as early as possible. We must cooperate with the government authorities, the health ministry, to control this situation. Otherwise what will happen will be the whole world economy can collapse, and that's not good for us.
President's Counsel Ali Sabri says that Islamic extremism grew as a natural result of exclusivity and divisiveness practiced by Sri Lanka's Muslim community and urged the community to work towards a culture of transparency and openness. He pledged to work towards rebuilding the community into a safer, secular and more inclusive one that embraces the concept of unity in diversity.
President's Counsel Ali Sabri spoke at the launch of a book on Wahhabism and Sufism, authored by Maulana Rafuldeen Jamaldeen yesterday.
We all think our version is the only version. Everybody else is a fool. I don't subscribe. We must live and let live. We are all human beings. So the need of the hour is unity in diversity. Sri Lankans as Muslims were safe when there was unity in diversity. We all agree on one common ground. Last 30 to 40 years, we have been divisive, exclusive, as a result of which out of the limelight, and natural progression is extremism, and few of them go to terrorism. We should accept that. So it's time that we look at it and see how we get out of this menace, how we are going to be transparent, open, inclusive, be good to people. That's all is important. I will say with responsibility, we will find a way to make Sri Lankan Muslims who will be more safer, secular and inclusive. We will not allow people to dictate terms on others to live how you should live. We'll find a way to do that. That's why we are here. We will re-engineer it. We have already started the re-engineering process.
Meanwhile, the President's Council also stated that 95% of the blame for the Easter attacks must be borne by the government, for it on the government sitting on 97 intelligence reports that warned of ringleader Zahran Hashim's activities prior to the fateful day.
I agree with Professor. Government of the day must take 95% of the responsibility, because in the Supreme Court it revealed 97 intelligence report, not one or two. 97 intelligence report was submitted and they just sat over it. They did politics out. Blame should be squarely and fairly taken by them, because Muslims fought against that fellows. Muslim women protested against them. Muslim organization wrote about it to them.
And we'll return with more local news and of course your business segment on the other side of this break. Welcome back. A former permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations, Dr. Palitha Kahuna, urges vigilance over the LTTE diaspora, warning that they're still in pursuit of what they failed to achieve during the war. Dr. Kahuna calls on the government to not let its guard down. Addressing an event, he went on to say that it is imperative that Sri Lanka builds a counter-narrative against the image portrayed by international media of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
There is a force building up against Sri Lanka in the international media. Every single report refers to the president as the president against whom there are alleged war crimes. Every report refers to him as an alleged war criminal. Then there are other things like he's a strong man of whom the minorities are terrified. He is the inventor of alleged inventor of the white van syndrome. And these are repeated time and time again. From November, it has gone on. Now it's almost March, and this has gone on. And I believe seriously that unless we start building up a counter narrative, these stories, these unsubstantiated allegations will be used against us for other measures that these countries might take. And mind you, also, the diaspora, the Tamil expatriate community, has not given up on us. In fact, their efforts have increased in an exponential manner. I've heard reports from friends in Washington of their visits to various congressmen, visits to the State Department, etc. This is 11 years after the war. Still, the effort continues to squeeze Sri Lanka and win through international pressure, but they couldn't win on the battlefield. And we need to be alert to this. We need to be aware of this. This is why I believe that the majority of the people of this country voted in President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, because in him they saw the last hope, as it were, for this country as a unitary state. We don't succeed this time, we may have a war to fight for another, not 30 years, for 100 years.
With the effects of the coronavirus pandemic sending shockwaves through global financial and share markets, Saudi Aramco today reported a massive 21% drop in its 2019 profits and announced plans to cut capital spending for the year 2020.
Saudi Aramco said today that it plans to cut capital spending in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak and also posted a plunge in profit for last year, missing forecasts in its first earnings announcement as a listed company. Saudi Arabia's decision last year to float shares in its state oil company, which is the most profitable company in the world, was one of the central elements in Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's program for economic and political reform. The 21% decline in net profit for last year means it fell short of analysts' forecasts for the period that culminated in the share sale months before the coronavirus pandemic became a factor for oil prices. In recent weeks, Riyadh has announced that it is ramping up production in an oil price war with Russia that has sent global prices plunging and contributed to the coronavirus rout on international financial markets. The company said it expects capital spending for 2020 to be between $25 billion and $30 billion in light of current market conditions and recent commodity price volatility compared to $32.8 billion in 2019.
And Sri Lankan stocks were also affected as a result of growing concerns on COVID-19. And on Friday, the Bourse closed 2.89% lower at the end of the trading week after the exchange halted trading for 3 consecutive days during the week. Analysts now forecast slow and stagnant activity levels in the market starting tomorrow. Here's a brief look at what we can expect in the Colombo Stock Exchange in the new week.
Last week, we saw in both capital markets, there are heavy selling pressure in both debt and equity. If you take the bond market, we saw yields slightly moving upwards with heavy selling pressure. Similarly, in the equity market, we saw significant amount of panic selling triggering the equity market index or equity market to have trading halts on 3 days out of the 4 trading days. Going forward, we expect activity levels during this week, both in equity and debt market, to be slow and stagnant. If you take the bond market, we expect the bond yields to be broadly stagnant, while activity levels are also likely to be slow and steady. However, similarly in the equity market also, we expect the investors to adopt a more wait and see approach, as most investors are on a monitoring mode, concentrating on whether the spreading of the coronavirus is high or low.
Taking you very quickly to international news, Iraqis held a funeral procession in Najaf yesterday for some of those killed in US airstrikes on Friday. Iraq's Joint Operations Command said in a statement that 3 soldiers, 2 policemen and 1 civilian were killed, according to an initial toll, and that 4 soldiers, 2 policemen, a civilian and 5 militants were injured. The United States defended the airstrike, saying all 5 targets were legitimate and stored Iranian-supplied weapons used by Hezbollah militia to attack the US-led coalition. And that's all from us tonight. Stay safe and sanitized. Good night.